Lance, never a dull day in Leafs land. Brendan Shanahan announces earlier today that Lou Lamoriello is out as GM. He's now going to take over a senior advisor role. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? This will be about my 11th Leaf general manager that I've covered since I've been on the beat at the Toronto Sun, and I can't remember one being replaced after a 105-point season. So that's a good thing. Usually, when the Leafs do this, it's chaos or something else in ownership or front office and so on. So the good news is that the person that replaces Lou will be going into a very good situation.
Who would that be? That would be my follow-up.
Likely be Kyle Dubas or Mark Hunter are the obvious candidates in-house, but it's interesting today that at his press conference, Brendan Shanahan left the door open maybe to an outsider. So that could be interesting too, but I can't believe that he's brought along these two guys, especially Kyle Dubas, hiring him and essentially saying, as even Lou said, that this guy one day will be GM of the Leafs.
So would you say that the inside track, at least optically, is Dubas?
I would think so. I think he's more versed in things like contracts. Much younger than Mark Hunter, but I think he's got I think he understands the 21st century NHL. Not to say Mark Hunter doesn't know personnel very well. I just think he's the guy that they brought along expressly for this purpose, and now that moment is here.
Now Lou Lamoriello is going to transition into this new senior advisor role.
We think.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area, right? Because he may end up going to another team to take on a better role. But the senior advisor role, let's say it stays put. What exactly does that mean? Well,
you know what? Lou was asked that today, and I don't think he knows at this point, which is pretty fair. Maybe this was just sort of dropped on him by Brendan in the last little while. And of course, as good as the Leafs have been, times change. He is 75 years old. He does have two very good people in Hunter and Dubas, as we've spoken about, guys who aren't going to be around forever if they don't get some kind of promotion. So I don't know how his role is going to unfold, but certainly you can't ask for a better guy to have there. The interesting thing, of course, the Leafs have a senior advisor now in Cliff Fletcher, so I guess Lou becomes the senior advisor.
And also, if we can look back on Lou's tenure as the GM, 3 years, obviously the playoffs come into the picture last year, another step this year despite the first round loss. How would you size it up? How would you evaluate what he's done?
Well, you know what? He has good people under him, and those are the people responsible for the scouting and the drafting, which helped obviously. But you look at the moves that he made last year, bringing in Brian Boyle at the trade deadline, who helped the Leafs.
Yes.
The start of this year, going with Patrick Marleau, a player that a lot of people wondered about. Was he worth the money? Was he worth the investment? He gets like 20+ goals and fulfills that role. Thomas Plekanec, as it turned out, was probably the right person to add at the deadline. The knocks against him, he didn't really fix the defense. There are some issues with toughness. He doesn't have that stud on the blue line.
And the Zaitsev contract is
probably
probably a little too long.
Yes, and a couple of other things. And you also have to look to the future. Is he the right guy to negotiate the big deals coming up for Matthews, for Nylander, and for Mitch Marner? A lot of that will fall to Brandon Pridham, of course. But Lou is a bit of a stickler when it comes to some new tenets of the CBA. He doesn't like throwing around money, as some other GMs might.
Full credit to Lou Lamoriello on getting rid of the Dion Phaneuf contract. I'll give him full marks there. Now, I leave you with one parting question. Will Lamoriello still have his stamp on the team in regards to beards and that type of his old school policies? Do you think those are gone, or do you think they remain?
I think there's a lot of people. I don't think you, with that excellent growth you have there, would be on today's team. But it'll be interesting to see who shows up at training camp trying to take advantage of that. That said, there's some pretty good playoff beards finally growing at the end, and there'll be some people relieved certainly that they don't have to shave every day.